I hear you. Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is November 5th, 2020, 7 o'clock. Village manager selection. And Roseanne, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Mayor Halpin,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
I'm here.
Commissioner Ross,
I'm here.
Commissioner Samaria,
I'm here. Yeah.
Commissioner Tudor,
Here.
Okay. Commissioner Samaria, would you please do the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hula.
Thank you. We'll open it up to public comments. Do we have any public comments?
give me 1 second, Mayor. Okay,
Chuck Ross.
Chuck Ross, you are muted, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chuck Ross, 11166 Griffin Boulevard. What I'd like to suggest, since if at the end of tonight's meeting, possibly if you believe there's consensus about one candidate, that you move forward tomorrow and just make a decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Ross. That's exactly what I was going to make.
Commissioner Samaria,
Oh, I haven't talked to you about it, so I wouldn't have known.
No, I didn't say that. No, I'm just letting you know.
Yes. So, so that would be my suggestion. And I wish the two candidates good luck tonight. And we'll see how it goes. Have a great evening.
thank you, sir. Mayor, I don't see anybody else raising hand.
No,
Janie Anderson.
Janie
gonna-
Anderson, yes, sorry. There you go.
You're muted.
Gotcha. Janie Anderson, 11th place and 119th Street. Total agreement with Chuck. I think after you do the 4 interviews, I can't imagine what more you're going to gain out of a second interview. They've been lengthy. They've been thorough. You guys asked every possible question last night. I would really like to see you either at the end of tonight's meeting or your meeting tomorrow or Monday, whichever that's going to be. Make the decision. Let's get going. Thanks.
Any other public comments?
Um,
Okay, we'll close public comments.
Can I?
Would you like to let Vincent Akimi out of the waiting room?
Jenny, point of order, if I may just make a simple request for this evening. If I could ask my fellow commissioners, let's all abide by the time limit that we agreed to. I set a timer on my clock, which is really easy to do. When I start asking questions, I hit the timer and I watch it hit 10 minutes and I stop. So we all agreed to that. I'd appreciate it if everyone would stick to the script. Thanks.
Agreed.
And I believe we were also tonight going to find out if Will was able to make the meeting at 6:30 tomorrow or 7.
Yeah, Will?
Yeah, I notified the
Commissioner
clerk.
Suter?
Yeah.
Are you available tomorrow night?
You
No, I'm not
notified
I'm not available tomorrow night. If y'all want to schedule a meeting, you can. If anything changes or I can break free earlier, I'll try to jump onto the meeting. But yeah, I already had to reschedule because of yesterday's meeting and tonight's meeting. So unfortunately, a little bit of a short notice for the other parties. I apologize for that.
Okay.
Will, would you be able to send an email to Roseanne with your, I would like to hear your
You
opinions
did.
on these candidates.
Oh,
Oh, what was that? I'm sorry.
yeah.
I would like to hear, I'm sorry you're not going to be able to make it tomorrow, but I would value hearing your opinion after we finish these 2 interviews tonight. Would you, in lieu of attending tomorrow, would you email Roseanne sort of your breakdown of the candidates and your suggestions so at least we can consider them?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I have no problem doing that. If the
Okay,
rest of y'all
that'd
are
be great.
fine,
Thank
if,
you.
yeah, if the rest of y'all are fine with that, I'm happy to send Roseanne, my take on the 4 candidates and kind of where they're at in my mind. If the rest of the commissioners are fine with that, I'm fine with that as well.
Okay. Okay,
What do you
we have
guys
Mr.
think?
Hakimi in on. Good evening, Mr. Hakimi.
Yeah, let me add more volume. Yes,
Hi,
can
can
you
we
hear
call
me?
you Vince?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, would you like to make your presentation for us?
Well, sure. I don't have a formal presentation. I'm just going to introduce myself.
Okay.
I've been in this business for about 30 years, and I've served at very high levels in a number of municipalities. My education started in the British system, and I ended up going to University of Washington, where I studied my bachelor's and master's in engineering. Then I had the notion I wanted to do a doctorate. I was admitted to University of Michigan. I went there and tried to do my doctoral degree. The assistantship fell through that they had promised me. And my advisor suggested I go to City Hall and work for the Department of Parking and Traffic, because I was studying transportation in addition to my other areas at University of Michigan. And he said, well, go there and get a job, and they will help you pay your way through a doctoral degree. So I was doing that for almost 7 years. I did everything except for my dissertation. And at that time, a lot of recruiters were recruiting people from Michigan. When about 1977, my turn came, they told me to apply for a job with a regional agency in Kentucky and Indiana. I did, and they hired me to be their director of transportation. So they started my career. But my real career started in the halls of City Hall. And at that point, I decided that I don't need a doctorate really for the kinds of things I was doing. I was in charge of transportation for 7 counties in Kentucky and two counties in Indiana. I did that for a while, about 5 years. Then I got recruited to go to New Jersey for director of planning for Atlantic County, New Jersey Transportation Authority. I did that for about 4 years, and then the mayor of Stamford, Connecticut recruited me to be his director of transportation. I served on that contract for 5 years there. Then I had a notion I wanted to broaden my experience. I wanted to get out of transportation and get into public works in general. I had that opportunity in a city, village of Oak Park, Illinois. For those of you who know Chicago, Oak Park is considered an oasis in Illinois. It's a village. It prides itself as the biggest village. I think it only had about 2 to 4 square miles area, and but the population was about 55,000. I served them for about 2 or 3 years, and then I got recruited to come to Miami Beach to do a capital improvement program for that entity, and I did that. I think I was successful. It was a $400 million capital improvement program that I headed up. While I was doing that, both myself and the director of finance were the principal staff in the commission. It's a nine-member commission in Miami Beach. And all of the developments there were under my jurisdiction. And I worked very closely with the commissioners. The current mayor then is Gilbert, and I worked with his dad at that time, Mayor Seymour Gilbert. And from there, I decided to get into utilities, and the county of Polk County had me to be the director of utilities. So I did that for about 5 years, 6 years, and I decided I need to broaden my experience. Then came DeSoto County, which is a smaller county, 27,000, because Polk County was very large. It's about 2,000 square miles. I did serve DeSoto County. I also served Oviedo as Director of Public Works. I ended up with the city of Riviera Beach as the Director of Public Works, which I did for 4 years. And then I got recruited by the mayor of Bremerton, Washington. So I worked for the mayor of Bremerton, similar to the way I worked with the mayor of Stamford, Connecticut. One was Republican, one was Democrat. So it didn't make any difference to me because I usually served based on my technical expertise and my administrative abilities. From time to time during my career, I tried to remain relevant. I took classes. I made sure that I was getting into more and more into administration. And that culminated in the city of Lake City recently, where I served as assistant city manager. That was a very interesting experience because I was more than finalist for the top position. And after they picked the gentleman who's there now, they called me up and said, would you be interested in the second position? And I gave it some thought. My wife and I talked about it. And I decided to give it a whirl. I did everything I intended to do for that community. And so when the time came, I felt that I should move on and pursue some other opportunities. And that brings me to where I'm before you today as a candidate for your village manager. I think that my experience, my training, my interest in communities and people have driven my career. I've been very successful, both as a consultant, which I still do from time to time in between full-time jobs. And I hope that if I'm recruited, I can help Biscayne Village attain some of the objectives that I've seen. I read about some of your comprehensive plan, and I looked at your budget. I think that it's a good fit for me. It might be a small community, but it's a very, very important community, and I like the way it's structured. I think you refer to yourself as the gem of South Florida, and I think that's aptly so. So by way of introduction, that's my presentation. I'll be very happy if I'm chosen to be your next city manager. There are other things I can get into, but I think that I've covered a lot of territory. I don't want to talk all the time. I mean, you're a diverse community that I'm used to working at. So I think I'll fit in very well.
I'm very impressed by your resume. It's quite extensive and quite interesting. You've moved so many places. What place did you like living best? What state?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question, Mayor. I think myself and my family were very lucky. Louisville is a great city. That's where I started with the Kentucky Derby and all that. It's exciting. Ann Arbor was great. We've been very fortunate to live in very, very nice cities, nice communities.
Yes, it's quite a...
So it's hard to pick one because there's so many good communities that I've worked for.
Okay, we're going to start our questioning with Vice Mayor Kennedy. Vice Mayor Kennedy? Mac, are you on?
Is Mark on?
We don't hear you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was muted there and wouldn't unmute. Hi there, thanks for joining us. I'm getting a lot of feedback from someone. Do we have some technical challenges in the log cabin? Oh, well, no, it's still there.
Still me.
It's coming from what? Oh, coming from you, Mac.
I don't know why I have everything turned on and off here properly. Let me see if something's on the other room. Apologies.
We can hear you fine.
It'll only be a few minutes, just a few minutes, little technical difficulties.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what it's coming from. Everything here is set properly. Can everyone else hear that feedback?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what that's from.
Can we mute?
Oh, now it
Can
seems
we
to have
mute?
stopped.
Can we mute everyone here in the log cabin?
We can, but it's not us. It's his phone. Vice Mayor Kennedy, can you mute your phone and unmute your laptop? Maybe.
Sure, let me try that.
He's gone.
Is that better? No?
Yeah, very worse.
You're not unmuted. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Yes.
much better.
Much better.
I don't know, I'm getting feedback through all of my devices here. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna turn that off completely. Okay, how's that?
Much better. We can, it's okay now.
Okay, I turned my phone off. Apologies for that. I don't know what that was all about. Okay, well, that was a long introduction. Hello, thank you for joining us. So I'm gonna start my clock here. Just so you're aware, we each have 10 minutes to ask you some questions. So I'm
Yes,
gonna
sir.
ask you to help me get through some of my questions kind of quickly. Please call me Mac while we talk. May I call you Vince?
Please.
Wonderful,
The
thank
mayor
you.
also said that.
Vince, talk to me about your research for this position and tonight's interview. How many of our meetings have you attended virtually by Zoom or after the fact on YouTube? And from what you observed here in the past couple of months, what stood out to you as hot topics here in Biscayne Park?
Well, there's never enough time to do research. I did as much as I could. I touched on it in my presentation earlier. I think that it's a very nice community. I think one of the things that stood out in my research was the need to keep your community the way you like it. So it comes out everything I read or looked at. They like the community as a small, friendly community, and you like to maintain that.
Okay. Did you
Getting
attend
into
any
technical
of our
area.
meetings, Vince?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Were you able to attend any of our meetings?
Yes, I've watched some of your
Okay.
meetings.
Okay.
And I think that you got the budget approved or adopted. That's a major step. So yeah, I've tried to read as much as I can.
Okay. Okay, very good. You have an extensive transportation background. What are your thoughts on our current project for 6th Avenue in conjunction with FDOT?
Well, I have to apologize. I don't know too much about that, but I've worked extensively with FDOT. I think the 6th Avenue, will that be an arterial or a collector? I don't know.
Well, you're the transportation guy, not me, so I'm not going to know all the terminology.
No,
I
I
can tell
didn't-
you that it's the only
Yeah.
state road that goes. It's the only state road that goes through our village, and there are
Yeah.
plans for a
Fabulous.
project there. And we're in a little situation with them right now.
Yes.
So I was hoping you would know a little bit about that, so you could weigh in. Let's jump to something else here.
Yes, sir.
We currently don't have any kind of a vision or mission for the village, and we don't have a set in
Did you
stone
bring
action
the
plan
pen? No.
for to move us into the future. Talk to me about having a vision and an action plan, what those two different things are, and specifically, who do you think is responsible for putting them together for the village?
Well, that's a very good question, Mark, because in my research, I kept saying, where are the vision statement? Where are the mission statement? And I finally called the city clerk, and I mean the village clerk, and she said, no, it's not there, it's not available. And I said, okay, fine, I will, I know that will be one of my first responsibilities if I'm successful. The way it's done, I've seen it done, Mark, is that the responsibility is shared with the manager, because the ultimate entity is the commissioners. So the challenge is, how do we get you to sit down? And I know you're all very busy with your other duties that you carry out. So we try to thread the needle and find a time that you can spend time with staff, more like a soiree or some kind of a meeting, peace, quiet, where you can talk about things. And each of the commissioners and the mayor can tell us what they think. So it'd be a session, one or two. Sometimes it's necessary to get a facilitator to help us navigate it and come up with a set of mission statement, vision, goals, and objectives. That will be taken by the manager and put into the budget process, and then start tying some of the things we're doing by priority to the budget process. When we say budget, we're looking at in a one-year budget or a biannual budget, or also the mid, long-range budget, and then a comprehensive master plan for maybe 20-25-year range. It gets more fluid as you go into the longer terms, but the first year budget, or the biannual budget, or the 5-year budget, typically the CIP will be developed. Because I tried to find that in your website, I couldn't find it. And I told the city clerk that. So I think that would be a very high priority for me if I were successful. And I'll work with you, and I've done this in the past, to come up with a roadmap, if you will, to attain some of the things that you believe the community deserves and needs.
Wonderful. That's a very thorough answer, and I'm very happy to hear all that. If I can recap, what I think I heard you say is it would be your responsibility as the manager to help make that happen in conjunction with the commission, and then you would take that vision and you would roll it out in an action plan in cooperation with the budget, short term and long term. Wonderful. Okay, I'm not going to dig a little more. I'm not going to dig very much more deeply into that, because I think Will Tudor is going to ask you some of the financial part of that, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but very good answer, and I appreciate hearing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Let's change topic and talk about accountability. You report, as a manager, you report to the body of the commission, not to any of the individual commissioners, and you're accountable to us. Talk to us about how you like to be held accountable and measured to succeed in your job. Clearly, the person we hire, we have a strong desire for this person to succeed. We've had some false starts recently in this position. We need someone to succeed in a big way for us. Tell us how you would like to be held accountable and how you would like to be measured by this commission.
Well, it depends on the situation. I think that since time is of the essence, I've been very, very sensitive to using your time effectively. And I think it may vary from one commissioner to the other, to the mayor. But I will be available, that's the key, at all times, night or day. When the phone rings, I will answer it. When there's a need to have a session, I'll be available while honoring the sunshine laws. So I can meet with you individually, one at a time. If we have to have a public meeting, we'll announce that and advertise it and do it that way. But I will keep you informed about what's going on and give you progress reports from time to time. I did see in your website that there was a section that dealt with the manager's report. I didn't know whether that was done. I don't know the frequency of that, but that's one way to keep you informed. I can do the report from time to time, depending on the schedule that you are comfortable with. But more importantly, I think it's just being accessible. If the door is in the way, I take the hinges off. So you can get to me, and I'll try to make myself always available. Your concerns will be my highest priority.
Okay, thank you. I have time for one more question, so let me jump down to, let me ask you this one. So you've had a long and rather distinguished career, and you come with lots of successes on your resume, and it's quite impressive. But along the way, we all, make mistakes. We all have failures, and we all hope that we learn from them. Can you share with us something in your career that you tried to accomplish that you were unable to accomplish, and what you learned from it that you were able to use moving forward to do better work?
Well, when I served in Stamford, Connecticut, it was very, for lack of a better word, very political. On the one hand, the mayor was my director. I reported to him directly, Mayor Serrani. But I also served in the commissions that they set up. The one that had the biggest challenge was what else is new, was the transit, Greater Stamford Transit District. I was the executive director as part of my job. And I was cut, there was a need to bring in some trolleys, each costing about 200,000 to induce some interest in the downtown area and provide that kind of transportation, more for advertising and and so forth. Now the mayor and the chair did not see eye to eye. I carried out my responsibility as director and got the 3 trolleys purchased. Then the issue became when should we advertise it? And my mayor, which I like very much, wanted to wait, but the chair of the transit district wanted to put them in service immediately. I was directed to put everything on hold, not even talk to the press by the mayor. No offense to Mayor Helton, but I was for about 3 months went through a lot of difficulties on the job because I was caught between 2 forces. I did follow the mayor's direction, and eventually, after I got them I worked between the 2 of them to see eye to eye. I was allowed to advertise that the buses have been purchased and they are ready to put to service. That required a lot of patience on my side. It required a lot of biting my tongue, and I think that has helped me as I deal with other situations that were semi-political, as opposed to the technical aspect of my jobs.
So then you learn the politics of the job as well as the getting the job done. Well, you might encounter a little bit of that here or in any position like this, so I'm sure that's come in handy throughout your career. Thank you very much for your time. I apologize for the technical challenges at the beginning. Enjoy the rest of your interview. Thank you, Vince.
No problem, Mr. Knight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Samaria, would you like to go?
Yes, thank you. Why do you think you would like to be on this?
His voice is not getting to you.
I can't hear his microphone is off.
Okay, yes, let's try it again. I'm sorry. What attracted you to Biscayne Park, and why do you think you would like to be our village manager?
Did he hear now?
I can't hear you.
You didn't hear me? Let me try it again. What attracted you? Oh, wait, hold on. Let me try something. Hold on. Okay, let's try this. You hear me now?
Can you hear him? Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, what attracted you to Biscayne Park?
And why do you think you would be a village manager?
It's a good question. Mayor, who's asking the question? I'm sorry.
Commissioner Samaria.
Commissioner Samaria, but for some reason you can't hear him.
Yeah, all right. Commissioner, I mentioned earlier that I work for the city of, not the city, the village of Oak Park. And when I saw your job advertised, I read it and I said, well, this is a very similar city, a similar village to Oak Park, Illinois, where I worked as the director of public works. They were very sensitive to urban forestry. In fact, that was part of my divisions. Urban forestry was part of it. And we took very good care of the trees. When you mentioned canopy, treetops, I was, when I read that in some of your documents, my interest was heightened. I had a very good experience with Village of Oak Park, but when I had a chance to come to Miami Beach, in fact, the manager said, do I want to take him with me? I said, I don't think that's doable. So that's the reason I left Oak Park. Otherwise, it was a very, very, very nice city, culturally, and particularly in the forestry aspect of it. I worked very closely with the Parks and Recreation guy, who was a big factor in the community. So we both hit it up real nicely, and took good care of all the trees. And my manager of the urban forestry is a very, very good one. So we attained a lot of, we accomplished a lot of things that the commissioners wanted to do there. And I felt that you have very similar values to Oak Park, Illinois, as a village. And it's a small area, but it was dense in terms of population. So
Okay.
that's why I'm interested. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy diversity. So did Oak Park. It looks like you all also do that. As an example, I've worked for a Republican mayor, I've worked for a Democratic mayor. My service is what drives me. I think I'll be very comfortable with your community.
We do not have a lot of employees, but that means it's more important to hire the right people. How much experience do you have in hiring the staff? Did you hear
Is that a question for me, Mayor?
Yeah, that is a question for you. Yes, sir.
What was the question now?
Okay. Can you see my?
Repeat your question, Dan.
Okay. We do not have a lot of employees, but that means it's more important to hire the right people. How much experience do you have in hiring staff?
Well, I have had a large number of employees, but when I was with DeSoto County, I was the only employee in the department, along with superintendent. We did grow it up to 16 before I left them. So I don't have a problem with the size of employees. I think I'll be comfortable. I read that you have 27 or 20, over 20 employees. But you also have a lot of contractual services. I see that you had Giordano and you have Smith, consultants. And, so I think even though you're a small city, you've covered all the bases, and I'm comfortable with that. I used to tell my staff that the more staff members you have, the bigger your headaches. So I think a small staff is not that bad. In fact, one of my staff members that I mentioned is now working for the city of Tampa. He got a job with that city. He just got a big promotion, but he only has one staff member. We talked about it. So you remember I told you that it's probably better to have a small staff than a big staff. And laughed about it and joke about it. I still keep track of most of my employees that I mentored, and I'm comfortable with a small staff.
I think I got one more question. Biscayne Park is a small community, and sometimes it's like dealing with a big family that does not always get along. What strategy we use to bring the administration, commission, residents together so we could accomplish goals?
It's difficult to hear. Can somebody relay that to me, please?
And give me a question. Yeah, I'll read his question. Just a second. This one. Biscayne Park is a small community, and sometimes it is like dealing with a big family that does not always get along. What strategies would you use to bring the administration, commission, and residents together so we could accomplish goals?
Well, I think I touched on that in my introduction, that sometimes it's good to develop goals and objectives, and that we need to look for time, depending on your schedule, where we can meet and talk about it, not just one time, but often. There'll be some repetition of those kinds of meetings where we can try to hash out differences in direction or opinions. That's, in a way, is healthy to have different views, because you can take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and come up with a composite that will be accepted by everybody. We want everybody on board. That's the best option. Ultimately, it's your decision as a commissioner, mayor and commission, which way we go. And my job will be to keep you informed, to let you know what's going on, and give my recommendation. It won't hurt my feelings if I'm turned down. I've done that with mayors, I've done that with boards and commissions, both appointed and elected. So, but I will give you my recommendations and leave it at that. And whatever you decide is the final decision. And I will carry that out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
Commissioner Ross, would you like to proceed?
Thank you, yes. Good evening, Vince, if I can call you Vince.
Please, please.
Thank you. Please call me Rox. That's what I'm known as, ROX.
Okay. Ms. Ross, proceed, please.
So I was quite impressed with your resume and the extensive wealth of education that's noted on there. I think that life should be a learning experience throughout, and so I appreciate that aspect of your background. It also notes that you live in Lakeland, and that's quite a commute to
Yeah.
Biscayne Park. Do you intend
Yes.
to relocate to South Florida?
You can hear me?
I think the answer, are you done with the question? I don't want to cut you
Yes.
off. Okay. I think that I've done that. When I worked for Riviera Beach, which is just north of you all, I did not commute. I had a residence there on Singer Island. I lived with my wife on Singer Island and worked in Riviera Beach. I was there for almost 4 years before I went to Bremerton, Washington. And there's a story behind that, why that happened, because of my son. In any case, we have retained the house in Lakeland, but we're at a point now where I may have to let it go. We retained it for about 23 years. It's a nice place, but things are changing. The kids are grown, and it may be time to make a move. But I won't do it immediately. I will get a place just like I did with Riviera Beach, and then transition that into part of the community, if you will have me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you've been watching our recruitment process, you'll see that we had many more applicants, and over the months, some of those applicants have found themselves other positions. Many of them had several resumes in place with other cities, and so they had multiple irons in the fire. In the last 12 months, I'm curious, have you applied or interviewed for a city manager position in other cities?
I'm very open, and this is a good place to start. I will tell you exactly the way it is. I don't try to get around my employers. They know exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Yes, I have applied to a neighboring city here, city of Dundee, but they've not moved yet. I've also had one other interview. I don't think that's going to be a good outing. So yes, I am looking, but other than you and the city of Dundee, I don't. Those are the only applications for city managers they have out. And that's the whole picture. I can do more, but I've been doing other things, and my time is kind of divided between those things and looking for work.
Right. And you made reference to another city that you worked, where you worked that was similar to Biscayne Park, and you had a sort of an affinity to that city. So perhaps that's what drew you to this village.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a question?
No, just comment.
Okay, you're still summarizing. You're correct. Yeah. Very similar.
So one of the things that we have coming up is potential negotiation of a contract for our solid waste, which is outsourced presently. Can you describe for us a work experience where you were negotiating for something that you or your municipality wanted and the other side did not want to give?
Well, I think, again, not picking on Oak Park, Illinois, it's a big village. One of my responsibility there was to, and I'm not saying I'm proud of this or agree with it, I was directed to put the solid waste out to contract, because at that time there was a shortage of funds, and the city management and you call themselves board of trustees, just like you are commissioners, thought that they could save some money if this happened. So it was a directive to contract out the services. Well, it was not too well received because there have been some loyal employees that I was told to make sure that I addressed. In fact, there was a 65-year-old gentleman that said, what am I going to do if I go out in the private sector? I can barely keep up now. So there was a lot of community input. We ended up, after about a year and a half, contracting it out. I know that you have waste management, solid waste. I think they ended up getting the contract out of 3 major services. But in doing that contract, we put into I did it, make sure that this employee was taken care of. Furthermore, because it was a union, I made sure that if there was any job opening after the transaction, they will be given first bite at the apple, if you will, see if they want to do it. So it was a very, very well, carefully negotiated outcome to take care of everybody in doing it. It's not something I was proud to do. I hear later on they're trying to bring it back into the city, into the village. So it can go either way. That's an example of where I was cut in the middle. Was that I liked the employees very much in the solid waste division, but if you're directed, you try to carry it out. And it was done well. I didn't hear any complaints. So that's my example.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My next 2 questions are going to deal with finance. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to review our financial statements.
That's her timer. That's her timer going on.
In the year 2000, sorry, we're having a little bit of an issue on our end.
Okay, so your
I think
question is
we're
what
clear now.
I,
I think we're clear now. So my questions are going to be about financials. And if you've had an opportunity to review ours, the audited financial statements for the year ended 2019 report that we have a little bit over $1 million in unrestricted reserve funds. Those funds were mostly gathered together because of long put off projects, capital improvement projects in the village. Things like adding a generator to our village hall, things like improving our storm drainage situation, things like adding a permanent parking surface at the park. So those were put off. We have $1 million, which is great. We're also expecting FEMA to make good on our Irma claims, which should bring us another $700,000. My question to you, two questions. What level of unrestricted reserve would you advise as a comfortable level for our municipality? And how would you balance maintaining that stable reserve with implementing these long-awaited improvements?
Ms. Ross, yeah, that's a very good question. And yeah, balancing the projects versus the money you have in reserves. I come down on the side of being very careful with your reserve because you never know what's around the corner. In addition to that, there's a question of arbitrage. I don't know what are some of these commitments carry that penalty if you've not done the project. Some of the funding sources might want to take the money back. I also read that you were trying to do a storm water master plan. I don't know how that has panned out. You have $750,000, I think. So I will say that I will be very, very careful in my recommendation to you. And I will beg off because I really haven't done enough investigation of that part of you. I looked at it, but I really didn't dig into it. But it's a very, very good question. It's something that I would like to tackle and give you a recommendation. I'll say within the first 3 months, or even less, the job. I'll work very closely with the finance director to do it. You have a very good finance director. We'll look at it and give you a recommendation that you'll be comfortable with. But I'm very, very, very cautious because things happen, and we want to protect that fund as much as possible.
Fair enough, thank you. So I think I have time for one more. And I understand that there is a little bit of a learning curve coming from Lakeland and maybe not being familiar with a lot of the things or some of the things in Miami-Dade County. But we have something in Miami-Dade County called the CITT, which is the Citizens Initiative Transportation Trust.
I saw that.
It's a fund that was put together with a half-penny sales tax. And the county has done a lot of transportation projects with it. The municipalities get a percentage of those funds for local improvements. The village currently has $400,000 to $600,000 in that restricted fund, which is only to be used for transit and transportation. My question is, because we are currently in a situation where we might lose, if we don't use, we may lose those funds. So what strategies might you propose to maximize the use of those funds for the village's advantage?
Ms. Rusk, I will have to look into that very carefully. I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I think that the last thing you want to see is funds being taken away. We don't want that to happen. I will look at the projects, prioritize them, and work with the county. That's one of the things that I bring to the job, because I've worked for regional government. That's how I started the 9-county area. I was responsible for transportation. Then I've worked for counties and I worked for cities. So I can navigate between you and the village and Miami-Dade government. I know my way around there. But there will be some time, like you said, the learning curves, you know where all the hidden factors are. The CT, I said the CITT, I wonder where it goes back. I'd like to delve into that. And I'm very interested in transportation, as well as in that area. So I will look into that very closely.
I'm going to ask the mayor if she would indulge me in one more question, since
go ahead.
since Dan and Mac took such a brief period of the time. So thank you. So my last question to you, Vince, is what do you hope to accomplish in the first 6 months on the job if it is offered to you?
I think that there's so many items. I would say the first month or two, I'll be getting all these things together. And about midway in the 6 months, I will give a draft recommendation, not final, draft that we can look at. And then I will work with you all to have a meeting to review that and kick the tires a little bit, look at it and see what changes you may want to see. And then by the 6-month mark, I will finalize it and recommend it to you for adoption. I know I'm putting a lot out there, but I work pretty fast. Example is what I did in Lake City. I put together, I think, the items that I worked on, from hiring magistrate to airport development and all that, and repaving the ways, taxiways and airport. I got it all done. So I think that I would like to come in, and with your blessing, I will stick to that schedule. A 3 months point and then 6 months final adoption.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Tudor?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, sir, thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks, Commissioner.
I just have a few quick questions here. Won't take up too much of the commission's time and your time. It's very valuable. You touched briefly earlier, you mentioned about multi-year budgets. Here in the village, when it comes to budget time, we've never utilized a multi-year financial forecast. What do you feel are the greatest benefits of creating a multi-year financial forecast? And have you ever worked on a multi-year financial forecast?
Yes, I have done that at least once. The advantage is that it takes the pressure off the second year. Biennial is what I'm talking about. But it's a good thing to do. It's not necessarily a prerequisite. I mean, a single year is fine, but if there's enough resources, you can look at the biennial with the understanding that the second year is not the commitment. I've made it very clear. But it gives us a leg up that second year. It makes things a little bit easier when it comes up to adoption of the budget. And I know that the community I did it with was happy with it, but the others really didn't want to do it biennial or multi-year budget.
Okay. Next question has to do more with being a small village. There's a lot of expectation from residents of community, those community relationships. And, you know, we understand that those are very important to develop and maintain. But we also know that given that we have a limited staff, there are definite business matters that must be addressed in a timely manner. So how would you manage those two expectations?
Well, I think that I'll be honest with everybody. I will try to tell them what can be done and what cannot be done, and give them my reasons. Ultimately, I know if they don't get things with me, they will come to you directly. And when that happens, we'll sit, talk about it, and then move forward from there. You may direct me to go ahead and do it. Once you've seen the pros and cons of that particular activity that's been discussed, that's where it's at. It's a balancing act. We're trying to do it preferably jointly. But ultimately, your word is final. As a group, whether it's a 3-2 vote or whatever it takes, then that's it. Then we'll move forward. I've done that over and over. In Stamford, Connecticut, they had the elected body was 22 members. That's pretty big. But the principle is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a 3-2 vote or whatever majority vote is. That's what finally determines what we do.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question is going to this is going to be more about relationships with the commission to the manager. Our charter is very clear on the role of commissioners and a manager. Specifically, individual commissioners are not allowed to direct the manager or his staff to take any particular actions. However, concerns have been raised by some in the village, residents and commissioners alike, that there have been commissioners that have crossed that line. You know, with that said, as a manager, how would you address and mitigate this type of issue if you're ever confronted with it?
I think that I will be firm. I think that at the same time, I'll be flexible. If it's an easy matter, where is the report that talks about a particular lamp shape for the lights? Is it Acorn or Cobra or this? You have a report on that, and I can get it to that particular elected person, individual, without much trouble. I'll do that. I mean, but if I have some difficulty with it, and I sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk with the commissioner, and try to handle it myself, and see if I can do that. If I cannot, then ultimately you as a body will have to make a decision. Mm-hmm. In my experience, Commissioner, that has never happened. I think I always find a way to resolve, and that's part of what you have me to do, resolve situations. Let you guys make it easier on yourselves too. So I'll try to do that. So I know how busy you all are. I know that you're doing 2 jobs. You have your own job and you have this service to the community, which I really admire those who do it, because I don't know if I've never been an elected person, so I just admire you guys for what you do. So I will be very sensitive, and I'll try to massage it with as little rancor as possible.
Okay. And I just have one last question. An issue of a lot of importance to residents here in the village surrounds code compliance. You know, and you know, there has been some who have wanted to take a much more of an aggressive approach to penalizing residents off the bat. There's others who feel that code should be more about educating the residents, because most residents who violate the code, you know, people feel don't do it intentionally. You know, we need to educate them. What do you think is the appropriate approach to take when it comes to code enforcement?
Well, it depends on on the situation, if it's a safety, um, just for lack of a better example, a wall is about to fall down out of a structure, and the owner wants to keep it. Well, no. If it's a matter of the lawn, the grass has grown too tall, either because somebody was absentee landlord or they are traveling in Europe, or I don't know. I would say that on that kind of thing, I recommend that we use city forces to take care of the situation because it's a blight, and then try to recoup some of that cost when we can. When they come back or when somebody buys the property, then we try to work with that person and take care of the expenses, taxpayers' money. I'd be very protective of taxpayers' money. But at the same time, we may have to be a little bit flexible if it's a minor violation, but not safety. That will not be tolerated.
Okay, perfect. That is actually the last question I had for you. Once again, I just want to just let you know, I appreciate you being here tonight and taking the time to answer my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you much for coming. Let me just explain one thing about Biscayne Park. We are not political in the sense of Democratic and Republican. We don't have that. We all have our views, but
Yeah, no problem.
we don't have that problem with our commission. We're different. But thank you very much for coming. Does anybody have any other questions they want to ask before we close?
Well, I don't have a question, Ginny, but we have given an assignment to the other people that we interviewed, and I believe we need to present that to Vince as well. So, but let's see if anyone else has a question first. Anyone else have any questions?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Vince, we would like to ask you for a small assignment, please. And we're hoping you can get this done by 5 o'clock tomorrow night in preparation for a meeting that we have. As follow-up to tonight's meeting, we would like to ask you to submit a recap of this interview tonight back to us. You can choose the format and the content, but we'd like you to recap what we discussed, what you think were the most important things. It will also give you an opportunity to clarify anything that you would like to expound upon. If you would get that back to Roseanne by 5 o'clock tomorrow, that would help us. It would help us to compare our notes and priority to yours and see how we all felt this went tonight. Will you be able to do that for us by 5 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah, I wish I had known that because I didn't take a copious notes while we were dealing with this. So I don't know if I can capture all there were a lot of questions. I didn't, is there any way to get a transcript of it? Or?
We don't have a transcript of it, and the video won't be up. And actually, the purpose is to after you have a meeting with someone, you want to make sure that everyone kind of heard and said the same thing. So that's part of the task here. So think about each commissioner that asked you questions, and I'm sure you'll come up with a good recap for us.
Okay, I'll try to do that. It won't be verbatim. It will be.
No. We're not looking for a verbatim transcript. We're looking for your version of the meeting and the priorities that came out of it and what you thought were the most important things that we discussed.
Okay, I get to work right now.
Okay.
It can be brief.
So if you can have that to Roseanne by 5 o'clock tomorrow, that would be wonderful. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you again for coming.
Yeah, I want to thank all of you for your time, and I express my appreciation. I hope I get to move forward in your selection process. And by the way, I had a quick question. What's your schedule? I mean, how are you moving forward in filling this position?
Well, we're hoping by next week we'll have a decision made.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Point of.
Wait.
Is he gone? Okay. It's okay now?
Point of order.
Okay,
We'll just wait a second till we get this all done.
Mr. Mr. Acme, he left the meeting. Mayor?
Yes, would you like to make your announcement, Roseanne?
Yes, please. Yeah, I noticed that the fourth candidate, Edwin Bruce, was not on the waiting room of the meeting. And then I called him. He answered and said that he's withdrawing from the position, from the village manager position. He received another job offer and he accepted. So I requested him to send an email so I can share with the commissioners.
Okay.
So we don't have a second, applicant tonight.
And, point of order. I'd like,
Go ahead, Commissioner Samaria.
I'd like to make a statement, since we don't have the fourth individual. I wanted to interview all four remaining candidates to learn more about them. I was ready to suggest to continue the search if we didn't think that this was an excellent choice. Everyone asked good questions after interviewing the three candidates, and I'm ready to make my decision tonight. I'd like to make a motion for that on tonight, that we have a discussion, the candidates, and select our new village manager. Thank you.
Okay, I'll second it for the purposes of discussion. Any discussion on his motion?
I'd like to say something, yeah. So I hope that the commissioners who are here this evening, who will remain on the next commission, and the incoming commissioners, who I believe are both in attendance tonight, will learn something from what happened in this village in the past few weeks. We went through the motions of hiring someone to be the CEO of this village. We got 28 candidates. We went through a vetting process, and we decided that there were 10 that seemed qualified enough on paper, that passed through 2 panels, that we would meet them and interview them. And then this commission proceeded to drag its feet and do everything possible to slow the process down. And as a result, if my math is correct, of the 10 people that we wanted to talk to, 5 of them accepted positions elsewhere because those communities did their job and interviewed them and hired them away from us. We lost opportunities for talent in Biscayne Park because this commission failed to act appropriately. I find it unconscionable that tonight we sit here and find out that yet another one accepted a job elsewhere. So Art and Judy, I hope you're paying attention. And when you join this commission, you plan to get in here and get to work. We aren't hired to sit on tasks. We're hired to get them done. And this is the most serious responsibility, along with a budget, that this or any commission has. And we mucked it up. Seriously.
Are we going to move forward with the discussion?
Now, I'm not done. I'm not done. That was my first comment. My second comment is, we agreed to a process. We just gave Vince an assignment to get his recap back to us by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll have it in our hands to have our discussion. That was the plan. We need to stick to it. We are not in the position to be offering someone a job now when we just interviewed someone and asked him to do something as follow-up. That's very unprofessional and out of line. So I say we adjourn this meeting. Roseanne will send his recap to us at 5:05 tomorrow. We will all have time to consider it. We will also consider the notes that Will Tudor will email into Roseanne. We'll have our meeting at 6:30 and we will proceed as planned. That's my comment.
Any other comments, Commissioner Ross?
Yes. So I do believe that we set out on a process and that process hasn't been completed. We're waiting for Mr. Akimi's comments back to us. I don't want to sort of ignore or shortcut that. I think that we owe him the ability to do that and communicate that to us. I also would like to, at tomorrow's meeting, include the comments and have some input from the 2 candidates, the commission-elect members that are in attendance tonight. I hope they join us tomorrow night so we can hear benefit of their thoughts on it. And then quite possibly we could make a decision tomorrow night, given all of those elements. I think it's premature tonight to jump in without going through and concluding what we set out in motion today.
Commissioner Tudor, do you have any comments?
I have to agree. I think what's going to be best is to allow this last candidate to provide his notes to us so we can take a look at that, digest that a little bit. I think any discussion about a selection of a manager should be had tomorrow, not tonight. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we had people drop out. That is typically going to happen in these type of situations, in this type of environment. I do like the fact, when it comes to the process, I like the fact that this time we took the time to do backgrounds on applicants as part of the process. I just want to, whoever, if this issue ever comes up in the future and we have to hire another manager, which we will, I would hope that the commission at that time follows and uses that same type of procedure.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I wanted to change. The problem I have with this is that Commissioner Tudor is not going to be available tomorrow. So that means I'm only going to have 4 people to judge this. I wanted to move this over tomorrow. He's not going to be able to vote.
I can't hear Dan. I hear the background noise, but I do not hear Dan.
Okay, Dan, he can vote.
Okay. Now, will he be able, the question I have to ask for the attorney that's present, since Commissioner Tudor is not going to be here tomorrow, is he going to be able to vote tomorrow? I do not want to put off this until next week. I think we have asked a lot of good questions. We took the time to interview all the 3 candidates that are balanced, and that I think that we can wait and make a motion for tomorrow. But I think we need to get this thing done. So is Commissioner Tudor going to be able to vote tomorrow if he's not going to be here?
Not participating, then no, he cannot vote. If he appears,
No.
he can participate virtually if you have a physical quorum. And he
So
can
that
vote in
means we would
instance.
only have 4 people.
But
And,
you would still have quorum. So as a body,
quorum.
the commission can vote. But
Yes.
if he's not participating, obviously he cannot vote if he's not participating.
Right, so that means there's a good chance that we would have a 2-2 tie. And that just wouldn't work. So my motion is still to keep it tonight.
Okay,
Real
go ahead,
quick.
Commissioner Tudor.
Yeah, I may not be available. It's very likely I'm not going to be available for the meeting at 6:30 or 7 o'clock for discussions that are going on. That's why I'm going to send in my notes. But, as soon as I can break away, I will. I don't know if that's going to be allowed. I could jump into the meeting. If a vote hasn't been taken, I can always then participate in the meeting at that time. I don't know if that's allowed. I'll let the attorney decide.
I'd like to comment on that, Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ross.
Thank you. My recollection is with the last commission before Ginny O'Halpern and before Mac Kennedy came on to the commission, Will Tudor sat with a commission of 3 people, and on the strength of a vote of only 2, made some major changes to our processes with regard to code. So I have no problem with making a decision based on the vote of 4 commissioners if Commissioner Tudor cannot be here. This process has gone on for quite a long time. And frankly, Commissioner Samaria, you were one of the people who wanted to delay the process. So to say now that we have to rush through a decision today seems odd to me. I think that we can come back tomorrow and we can decide. 4 commissioners will be here.
Okay, if we get them,
I like to address that.
just, excuse me a second. Can we just ask Valerie if Commissioner Tudor gets on late and if he gets on Zoom and we haven't voted, is he allowed to vote?
believe he can. I'm going to double check right now, but I believe he can. If he's present, he
Okay.
can vote.
Commissioner Samaria, do you want to continue with your motion or do
Yes,
you want to withdraw it?
Madam Mayor, point of order. I'd like to comment on Commissioner Ross. She is absolutely right that I wanted the next commission to pick it. At the last commission meeting, at the workshops, we had 3 candidates who said that they wanted this commission to pick it. So that is why I am deciding to pick it now, is because those 3 individuals, I wanted them to have a say. They already gave their say and they wanted us to pick it. Can we move this? I don't have a problem with moving it to later on in the evening. If, let's say, we have the meeting, let's say 8 o'clock, not 8 o'clock. I mean, it shouldn't take us any long to discuss this. That we can have I mean, I'm willing to have 4 commissioners. We do have quorum, but I'm just concerned that if it's a 2-2 tie, then what do we do? That's my concern.
May I say something here, Jenny?
I'm willing to make my motion. I'll move my motion, cancel that one, and like to make the motion to move it to Friday to discuss the candidates and select the next village manager.
You don't have to make that motion. That's what we already have planned, Dan.
Okay, then that's, I don't have, I'll remove
You need to
my motion.
you need to rescind your motion is what you need to do. You need to rescind your motion so we can proceed as planned.
Excuse me, I understand. I said I'm going to rescind my motion that I made tonight. Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, I'd like to, boy, is this echoing. If I have no objections, I would like to invite Art Gonzalez and Judy Himmelberg to join us tomorrow night at our discussion for manager.
They're going to be just for
Well,
discussion.
it's a public meeting, so anybody from the public can
I'm
come and
talking
any
about
member
them
of the public can.
participating. No, but I'm talking about them participating with the commissioners in the discussion.
That's
Is
what you
there any-
better ask Valerie that question. I don't think
they can.
residents can participate with the commission. I think any resident, including Art and Judy, can attend and speak during public comment. But a
Yes.
commission meeting is held by the commissioners. Residents don't join in the discussion, is my understanding. You might want to check with Valerie on that.
Valerie, there are 2 new commissioners that have not been sworn in yet. Are they allowed to participate with the commissioners at a meeting?
There is a consensus of the commission that is what you would like to do, is to hear their insights. Then certainly they can. Obviously, they cannot vote, but just like there's a consensus of commission again that you want to hear from them and their insights and their opinions. Certainly, you could do that.
Okay. Does any of the commissioners object to them being part of our questioning?
Anybody can be part of our, it's not questioning, we're going to have a conversation, and anybody in the public can make comments, so it's no different.
No, it is different. It is different. So do you have an objection to Art and Judy
No.
joining with us as in question?
No.
How about you, Commissioner Ross? No objection?
I believe I suggested that they be part of the process, so.
Okay, Commissioner Samaria?
And for the record, I should also mention that I reached out to all the non-incumbent candidates for commission before the election and invited them to send any questions to me that they would like asked on their behalf, with or without crediting them with those questions, and gave them all the opportunity to provide those questions to me, and I would make sure their questions got asked during these interviews.
Okay, Commissioner Tudor, does that sound okay?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, see you tomorrow night.